Hi, my name's Sandy Gehring, and I'm a digital learning coach with Keep Indiana Learning. And I'm coming to you today for part 5, the last part of my series on tips, tools, and apps to support social emotional learning both in classroom and virtual learning environments. So today what I wanted to do was to kind of give you some ideas for just overall thinking about embedding social emotional learning into your classroom, helping teach kids about compassion and caring in others, and give you some ideas on how to start your school year next year. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started with some resources that I'd like to share with you today. I'm sure many of you have used Nearpod before, especially for math or reading or social studies or science, but I was really excited to hear from a colleague that reached out to me about one of my previous videos on the Calm app that said, hey, did you know that Nearpod is connected to Calm? What Nearpod has done with Calm is it's brought in a lot of the different videos that are on the Calm app and supported it with some reflective questioning within Nearpod. As you can see, they have so many of the different videos available. And it also is going through, if you notice the ages, you have 9 through 12, 6 through 8, and K through 5. So it's going to reach all of our different learners, which is wonderful. So let's take a look at one of them that I checked out. And again, just a reminder, anything that I'm sharing today with Nearpod and Calm or any of the other sites that I'm sharing, make sure that you always preview it yourself to ensure that it's going to give you what you need, it's going to match your curriculum, and it's also going to be appropriate for your students. So let's jump into blowing candles and take a look at what this does. So here we are at the Blowing Candles SEL video. And again, if you're not familiar with Nearpod, I would definitely encourage you to go in, check it out, see what it can do. These can be self-guided lessons for students, or you can guide the students through the lesson. But lots of times with Nearpod, you're going to give a task or an activity to do. And then again, there's going to be some questioning that goes along with it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to preview this lesson. As you can see, it starts us out with a question to answer. What is your mood right now? So the students would answer this open-ended question before they get started.
Hi, my name's Tamara, and I'm going to teach you an exercise called a blowing candle meditation. It's 3 minutes long, so give it a try and see how it feels. Find a spot to sit, either on the floor, on a chair, or anywhere that feels comfortable. Rest your hands in your lap or on your knees. And when you're ready, close your eyes.
Okay, so I'm going to pause there. Just a little reminder that I've given in the past. Think about that word meditation and maybe fast forward through just that part of the video, or remind the kids that we're talking about mindfulness, because meditation can sometimes conflict with some other language that students are using at home or with different beliefs that they have. I'm just going to fast forward a little bit. So she's going to talk you through this whole thing. You're going to go through the blowing out the candles technique.
And blow the air out again. Try this a few more times on your own now.
Okay, and then when the students get to this part with the blue dot, it's going to bring up another question for them to answer. Okay, how did you feel? How did it feel to breathe more slowly? So again, they would respond to this open-ended question. Think about how you could use this in your classroom. 2 simple questions, a technique that they're learning, and maybe if you notice that it worked really well for a student, you can always remind them to go back to this blowing out candles technique. So make a note in a notebook that says, Sandy really enjoyed the blowing out the candle technique. Be sure to use it when she comes in from recess if she's had a tough time after recess, or when it comes to a tough math problem. A great way to, again, just collect some information on the students so that you can guide them towards some of the practices that you teach in your classroom. So this is what the Nearpod and Calm app collaboration looks like. Let's take a look, though, at some other things that Nearpod offers for social emotional learning. So I'm back at the Nearpod search page, and I wanted to kind of show you how to get to these lessons. So as you can see, as we talked about before, Nearpod has a ton of activities, lots of great things that you can embed into your classroom for math, for reading. And we even have different activities for distance learning. There's the Calm part. So I wanted to show you how to find some of the other SEL videos that are already embedded in a part of Nearpod's curriculum. So I'm going to go to Nearpod Library. And if I just type in SEL, it's going to come up. But I just wanted to show you too, look at all of these different videos and different lessons, and they're not all videos, but learning opportunities that are created for our students already. These are featured ones. You have ones, like I said, for ELA, math, science, social studies, technology. We can sort by grade level, but let's go ahead and start our SEL search. So I'm just going to type in SEL, social emotional learning, and look what it brings up. Activities that Nearpod has already created that we can use. Again, different grade levels. K2, 2 through 12, 9 through 12. So we're reaching our whole wide range of students with these videos, depending on which one we pick. Again, always make sure that you preview the content before you share it with your student. So I'm going to go down to what's difficult. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to preview this one. It's called What's Difficult, Check-ins, Open Up. We're going to look at analyzing situations, and this one's going to use the Draw With It tool. So let's go ahead and preview it. Take a look at the lesson, and then jump in. So it says, is anything difficult right now? If so, draw a picture of it or describe it using words. So with the Draw With It tool, it's a really great tool. They can just click on the tool and draw a picture to go with what's difficult. So maybe what's difficult right now is not quite a great artist, but is riding my bike. Okay, this is my little bicycle. All right, just a way for them to show what's difficult. So then they would go to the next piece. Thinking about what is difficult is a helpful way to analyze our situation. When we understand our challenges, we understand our circumstances better. So again, this is the teaching point that kind of goes with this. Understand your circumstances so that you understand your challenges and we can respond better. Analyzing situations helps us to see the good and the bad. It also helps us to see the causes and consequences of our and others' actions. After we analyze a situation, we make good decisions. So again, we're teaching the kids to look at the situation, analyze it, determine the good and the bad, and then make a good decision. And it's just a simple lesson. So some of them are more complex than others, but again, it's just a great way to get the conversation started. Think about how you could just do this for a quick community circle, pop this up. Students can follow along either with you through it projected on the screen, or they can follow along on their own device. I love the idea that this is just a quick activity that can be done at the beginning of the day, for a brain break at the end of the day, and a good conversation starter. So now let's pop back over to that main screen again. And we're just going to take a look one more time at the different ideas that they have here that we could use, again, for those short little quick teaching moments. We've got the gratitude jar and board. This gratitude board is really a neat one. Temperature checks, support circles. So all of these are already created for you. Remember, they're not all videos. They're activities that can be done collaboratively with your class, or that they could do self-paced. My emotional cup. That sounds like a really great one. Grades 6 to 12. Gives you a little glimpse as to what it's about. In this SEL activity, students practice self-awareness by learning to recognize their own needs. This lesson can be used to easily infuse social and emotional learning into classroom schedules. I love that, easily infuse it. This is just one resource that you could think about using and making a part of your classroom daily, weekly. We're going to do one of these activities a week. We don't want this to replace what your school is teaching. We want it to help enhance that teaching. Now I want to take you to the next resource that I found that might give you an idea on a way to embed empathy into your classroom. Let's go check it out. This resource, when I found it, really excited me. And I can say I've never used it in the classroom, but as I was reading about it and learning about it, it really excited me for the power that it can have to help build empathy in a classroom. So this is called Impatico. And this is a way that students can connect globally with other students, either in the United States or even around the world. So let's take a look at it. First thing I want to notice is that it's free for teachers to use. So it is a way to connect it. I would always, before doing something like this, make sure you reach out to your administrators, confirm that it's okay for you to do, and then also make sure parents are aware that this is going to be happening, because some of them may not want their students to be on a video with students in another country, or may not want them connecting that way. But it's not forming one-on-one connections, it's really connecting classrooms. So again, before you do something like this, always check with the administration and get their advice on how you should go about making sure parents are aware that you're doing this. So I'm going to start by just sharing this video about Impatico and giving you the opportunity to see what it's about.
Who we learn from and who we know create the foundation for how we think about others. Impatico is a free online learning tool for educators that connects students with their peers around the world to build relationships and deepen empathy. Our activities are developed by educators for educators and integrate seamlessly with your existing curriculum. To start today, visit impatico.org and select Sign up for free. Complete your classroom details, including student ages, activity preferences, and your typical weekly schedule. Impatico will find a list of potential classrooms for you to match with. Once you are matched, use the video and messaging tools to meet your partner teacher. Discuss the activity you'll do together and set the date and time for your students to meet. Impatico will manage time zone differences for you. You can also use Impatico's built-in tech test to check that your camera, microphone, and internet connection all work. Impatico provides resources like room setup tips and practice exercises to help you prepare your students for a successful meeting with your partner classroom. Currently, Impatico is for students ages 6 to 11 who can converse in English or Spanish. Classrooms need access to the internet and a computer or device with a camera. Impatico. Sign up today to connect your students to the world.
So how awesome is that? I just think about those connections that the students are going to be making with other students around the world, the way that they can do the same lesson together. I think that that's a really cool part of it. We're not just creating our own lessons and, hey, I want to share with you, this is what I did, but these lessons that are already created that they can do collaboratively or that we can have prepared for. It's teaching kids how to prepare for those conversations. Also, I think that's a really important part. We're not just going to have kids go and wing it, because when we think about that whole well-being of a child, sometimes that brings a lot of nervousness. So it teaches them that skill of being able to prepare for conversations and prepare for presentations or sharing of information. So I just really thought that this was a great tool, and to think about setting it up at the beginning of the year, building that connection with another classroom in Nigeria, like it listed, and then continuing that conversation throughout the year. Think about the friendships that could be built, the relationships, the learning that could happen, learning about two different cultures and meshing it together in an activity. I just really love this idea. I love that everything seems to be created for you. It's all right there embedded within the website, and it's free to use. So a couple of things to think about, like I said, is make sure that you're going to want to always check with your administration, confirm with them that you're doing that, and share the information with parents. Another thing that it also said in the video that you want to be aware of is that it's for students ages 6 through 11. So we're talking about primary age students, which is really cool. What a great way to expose them to a culture and to students that they maybe won't ever get to meet in person, but to build those virtual relationships that now we have the opportunity to continue having once you're done with an activity like this. Another thing that it said is the lessons are already created. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the activities now while we're in here talking about it. So here I am at the library, and as you can see, it has the featured activities, other activities, and then our teacher resources. So let's just take a look at one of the activities and see what some of the things are that they are going to be doing with this other classroom in a different location. Let's go ahead and do I Can and Did. And it says explore how students around the world practice strength during challenging times over the last year. And when I think about this, and when I think about where our kids have been this past year and a half and what they've been going through, it could be very calming to some of them to know that students across the world have been experiencing some of these same hurdles. So for them to know that they weren't alone, and when it says I can and I did, and to think about how I made it through the past year and a half, this is a great tool to use. So it gives you the think part of it. During this activity, students will explore how they and their peers have practiced strength during challenging times, and it gives you some questions for them to reflect on. And then it has a hope part. Ask students to follow these instructions to complete an art project about a hope they have for the future. How cool is that? Collect their artwork and consider uploading it to Padlet. If you haven't used Padlet, remember it's a collection board, kind of like a pin board that can be shared through a link or a QR code, and collaborators can be a part of it. And then they can share with their partner in the class on a video call, and then share with your partner class. It's bringing in Kahoot, so it's got some gameplay in it. So what a great lesson. And it also brings in other pieces of technology too that your students may have been using, so that they're more familiar with those different components too. And it just continues to go on about what you can do to help prepare your students for this lesson. If you don't want to use Kahoot or a different piece of technology, you can use documents. Remember, you may not be comfortable with those pieces, so it gives you alternative ideas and then some other additional resources. So just think about what this would be like for students to do it with other students in another part of the United States, another part of the country, another part of the world, and to learn together about what we did and what our hopes are for the future. Again, this is just another idea that I had for a way to set up some social emotional learning. And this one is not about them, but it's about learning and caring for others and getting to build relationships with others. So think about how you might be able to use this at the beginning of the year to start your classroom off, start it in August, and what relationships might be like by the time the end of the school year comes in May. So now let's go ahead and check out the next resource I found. The next resource I want to share with you is called Goose Chase. And I don't know if you've ever been a part of a Goose Chase before, but it is a lot of fun. Or if you've ever created them, you could get really creative with what you're asking people to search for. I've been a part of ones where I've gotten to create them and searching around the city for new staff, or also been a part of creating or being a part of one and looking for different resources throughout a building with a professional development, creating them for students. So I was thinking about how Goose Chase could be used for social emotional learning. And really what Goose Chase is it's a scavenger hunt. It's a scavenger hunt where you ask people to find different things, they earn points, and it's kind of a game. It's a competition, but you don't have to build up the competition piece. So when I started thinking about this social emotional learning, I went to look at Goose Chase to see if anything was already created. And I was really excited to see that they do have some things already created to support social emotional learning. So let me just show you a little bit about what Goose Chase looks like. So when you go to Goose Chase to get started, sign up is free. There is an app that goes with it, but we are going to go look at games, the game library. And I filtered down to kindergarten, 4th grade, just did primary. And so these are the different ones that we came up with. Some of them are really great, and some of them, of course, like as usual, check them out beforehand, make sure it's going to meet your needs, and really think about the inclusivity of the Goose Chase. For instance, Christmas week, this is one that we probably wouldn't use because we need to remember that all students don't celebrate Christmas. But as I was scrolling down, I found some that were going to be really great for social emotional learning, and let me click on one of them that I found. This one that I found is about the kindness challenge, and we know that this would be great for the month of February or any time, thinking about the getting to know you beginning of the year. So what the students would do is they would go in to Goose Chase, and you set it all up for them. And you can have it set up on one device, the classroom device, so that they're all kind of working together on it, or on their individual devices. And again, always making sure, I'm going to go back to, you want to check with your administration, check with your tech department to make sure this is something that we can have students doing and that meets our technology procedures and protocols. If it does, then you have this option to use this Goose Chase. So in this Goose Chase, it's saying you are challenged to complete random acts of kindness throughout the month of February. Complete missions and earn points. How many can you earn? So you can edit these once you add them to your library, but this one's already created, so let's take a look. So think about how kids could be learning about that compassion piece, about kindness, about themselves as they go through these different activities, these different scavenger hunts, right? So the first thing that they would do is find 3 good qualities about yourself. Write 3 good qualities about yourself and keep it posted in your classroom. And then take a picture of it. So if they were to do that, they get 25 points. Greet students at arrival and dismissal. Again, do that same thing and get points. Think about how this is building that community feel in your classroom, how it's building up student confidence, and it's how it's teaching them that kindness piece. No shop talk at lunch. Do not talk about anything school related during lunch for one day. How exciting is that? I don't want you to talk about what we did in math or reading today. I want you to talk about how your soccer game went this weekend, or I want you to talk about the chickens that are in your field and on your farm. Again, another way to build that compassion. So there are different tools. Think a staff member, good qualities of a colleague, a note to a student. So they would go through and do all of these different challenges throughout the month of February. You could shorten it if it's too much, of course, and then get points for it, and it gets tougher and tougher. So this is one way that we could do the kindness challenge using Goose Chase. So this Goose Chase is set up for the beginning of the school year, for kind of that getting to know you. So it's all about having your students do missions to get to know each other and talk about what they did over the summer. So student mingle. Look at these. Short, to the point, books. Take a picture with a classmate who visited the library this summer. So somebody went to the library, you find that person and you take a picture. You know what this reminds me a lot of is those activities where you have to do like check off the boxes. How many boxes can you check off, or who can get tic-tac-toe first by finding that person that did this or that. But this is going to give you pictures that you could use later on in the year. It's going to give you pictures that you could help build friendships and relationships with the students. Hey, do you remember that you and Sandy both went to the library this summer? And it also brings in the technology piece and keeps that going and getting that movement in the classroom. Also, think about how this is building your classroom environment. Again, you're building your classroom community, and you are getting those students that maybe are a little bit nervous, a little bit quiet and shy, that opportunity to get out there and mingle and meet some new friends. Some other activities it said, take a picture with a student who went camping this summer. Take a picture with a student whose name starts with the same letter as yours, and then you can post that up on a bulletin board and make it interactive. Find a classmate that you saw this summer and remind students that it's okay if they can't find all of these things. This is just a for fun activity. All of these different things. And then again, they earn points. And once they're done, there's a leaderboard, but you don't even have to show that. Remember, it's about the building community. It's about the social emotional part of becoming a part of a classroom community. So Goose Chase, that's another activity, another tool and resource that you could use in your classroom to build social emotional learning. I have a couple more I want to share with you. Let's jump into the next one. This resource that I found is really a true resource. So it's really got a lot of different pieces and components to it that you can use in your classroom, that you can use to support your professional growth. The resources on this website really support social emotional learning, but it's really about technology and digital citizenship. So when you take a look at this, you're going to find a lot of resources. You're going to find a lot of reviews of technology, which is great. And then it's going to give you some professional development activities and resources. So what I want to do first is I want to show you this digital piece. And what I really like about it is it's going to give you curriculum, resources, and student games. When I think about the curriculum, again, make sure it always supports our curriculum that we're doing in our schools. But what's really cool is when you think about how this is going to break it up into smaller pieces and really bring you to this site when you're trying to find something, instead of having to search all these different sites that are going to give you information that may not be quality. Common Sense Education really has some great quality reviews, activities, and lessons. one piece of this resource that I really like is this EdTech reviews. Again, we're kind of jumping off the SEL part, but I wanted to share this with you. So if you go down here and you can EdTech reviews, find a tool, EdTech reviews or top picks list. So if we go into this, we're going to see all of these different tools that Common Sense Education has looked at. And what you can do is if you scroll down over here, you can go down to the social emotional piece and you can take a look at their top picks and their reviewed apps to support social emotional learning. This is just the SEL. If you look, there are so many different things that they have reviewed for you already to make sure you're getting quality tools. But I went to this and then went to top picks list. And if you click on any one of these, we just talked in the last part about Impatico, best global and cross-curricular education apps and websites. It gives you a breakdown of the different websites, the cost, if there is a cost, and then you can go right to it. So this is a great tool, again, if you're looking for something or I need an idea to help support global connections, look at these resources. So ones that we already know about, but it might be that reminder that we need. Different apps that might come up and different websites. As usual, what I continue to say is make sure you take a look at it before you introduce it to your students so that it meets the needs of your students and of your lesson and supports and enhances your teaching. Remember, what we're looking at for all of these is that they should enhance your teaching. So this is just one part of this website. Like I said, there are so many different pieces to it. You've got curriculum, resources, back to school ideas, professional development. But what I wanted to share today was another piece of this that really jumped out at me, to help support my social emotional learning in my classroom. So this is another part of the toolkit. So I went to toolkit and social emotional learning. And as you can see, it brings up all of these different character strengths that I can choose from. And once I do that, it's going to take me to some resources that are going to really support those different ideas. So if I go to teamwork and communication, something that is really great and really important when you're building the beginning of the school year, connections. Oh, look, there's Goose Chase, Classcraft, which is kind of like a game, kind of like a Minecraft sort of thing, but about social emotional learning with a gamifying piece, Inspire Ed, and Pen Pal Schools. Now, are all of these ones that you want to use? Probably not, and that's why we check them out beforehand. And they may not fit your need, but if they do, it's already got them here for you. It gives you the breakdown of what it is. Once you click on it, tells you what grade levels it supports, and then you can go right to the website. So here's this one, creating pen pals with different schools in different places across 150 countries. Again, how cool is that? It kind of matches that idea of connecting with other schools and other students across the world. It gives you ideas. So maybe this is another one that you want to check out, another opportunity for students to build connections and learn about other cultures and other students and other learners. But this came from, don't forget, it came from that commonsense.org. Really easy, click, connect, and it takes you to another piece. So jumping back to commonsenseeducation.org, again, this is just a resource that I would bookmark. If you watched maybe another video of mine where I use Wakelet, maybe you want to put it on your Wakelet page so you always remember to come back to this resource. Look for those activities that are going to build connections. Look for the digital citizenship activities that are already a part of this, the toolkits that are there. The reminder, again, this doesn't replace your school's curriculum, but it's another supplemental support. I have 2 more resources I want to show you, so let's go ahead and take a look at them. This resource I actually found through commonsenseeducation.org, and I've not tried it, but again, I think it looks absolutely amazing. So this is the Compassion Project. If you've ever done it, I'd love to hear about it on Twitter because I think it just looks like a really cool activity. So let's take a look at the Compassion Project. Think about how it's going to support, again, your students and that overall well-being of their student, building those character traits that are so important, and then think about how you might use it in your classroom. I want to start by looking at about the project. So the Compassion Project is a national initiative to support education in elementary students. So we're talking about only elementary students and just in the United States. But that is awesome because kids still aren't connecting even within the United States. And it's to make sure that students in every primary school in the United States understand what compassion is and how to demonstrate it in their lives. Something that I think a lot of our students that have been maybe virtual for a while are going to need help building up that skill set again, because they've really been by themselves and maybe working on compassion within their home, and now they're going to be talking about it within a bigger environment and in their school and classroom. It talks about why to teach it. It talks about who's behind the Compassion Project and why and how compassion is going to be taught. So this is going to have some lessons that are going to be a part of it. We've got some fun characters that are going to come in, and then it's going to teach them that exciting part about how do we show compassion to others. Once we get to the bottom, it's time to try it out. What I like about this is that it's a 15-minute lesson. Again, I want to bring up that it doesn't replace your school's curriculum. So we're going to try and let's go. And let's take a look at what's given to us for the lesson and what we do. So lesson 1 is what is compassion? And the students are going to learn about how to act more compassionately. They're going to start to build their foundation. It's an animated lesson, and it's a whole group experience that can be led by the teacher. So when you click on the lesson, it's going to give you a preview of the PDF that's really going to give you a really nice breakdown of what you're going to be teaching. It tells you what to say, how to explain it to the students, and then you're going to have a video that goes along with it. So let's check out the video.
In this story, listen for the definition of compassion and see if you can spot someone who needs compassion. Your poster is looking great, Brandon.
Thanks, Alex. I put the talent into talent show. Or is it I put the awesome into awesome-a-thon?
You're all awesome. I can't wait to see what everyone does for the show. Boom, ba-dum, ba. Yeah. Gabby, I'm trying to beat my high score, and that's not helping. Sorry, Amir. I gotta do it. Hey, drumming on my chair is like drumming on my head. My chair is like a part of my body. Oh, really? I'm sorry. Can you do it somewhere else? Okay. Awesome! Your practice is paying off. Give me 5, Boobo. You may be a little rat, but you've got a big talent. I don't feel talented. Time out, Boobo. You look sad, Ty. What's the matter? You and Alex and Brandon and everybody else knows what they're good at, but I don't feel like I'm good at anything. I just feel kind of left out. I've felt that way too. Really? You have? Yeah, lots of times. But I talked about it with Boobo, and that helped. Yeah? Yeah, and Boobo and I will help you any way we can. Why would you do that? It's called compassion. When you see someone upset, care about their feelings, and do something to show you care. Oh, okay. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of listening. And don't worry, Ty. I know you'll figure out what you're good at. I hope so. So, any idea what your talent is? I'm not sure. Maybe I could juggle, or do gymnastics, or try some magic tricks, or recite a poem. You said it, Boobo. The Ty's the limit. Gabby learned that compassion is when you see someone upset, care about their feelings, and do something to show you care. David showed compassion to Ty after he saw that she was upset.
Such a fun video and so many great pieces in it, being inclusive with all students and really working together. So think about how much the kids would have loved that. I know there were pieces that really brought a smile to my face. So you'll have the activity, you'll have the lesson to do, and then you just really get started on it. And I love this idea. When you jump in and get started, you're going to fill out all of your information, and as usual, talk to your administrator if you feel like that you need to let them know that you're going to be a part of this compassion project. But it's just really going to teach them so many great activities, so many great lessons throughout this 14 lesson program, and help them become a part of something that's bigger than just them. So as you can see, sorry, I was kind of scrolling through. It gives you a preview of some of the different things that are going to be available for them to do. And it just shows you what it's going to be like to be involved with the Compassion Project. So hopefully this is something that as you think about next year or at a good time after a break when you want to start to bring back that compassion with your students, think about this project and how you could help your class become a part of it. All right, we have one more social emotional resource that I want to share with you that I'm really excited about. And then we'll wrap up our time with learning about these different resources that you could use to support your classroom. The last resource I want to talk to you about is StoryCorps, and I learned about this at the ISTE conference a few years ago, but I never really thought about it as a tool to support social emotional learning. So let me tell you about what StoryCorps is first, and then we'll talk about how we can use it for social emotional learning. StoryCorps is it's a program, and I have the app on my phone, and what it can do is it captures people's stories. So I often think about how I could have used StoryCorps to capture my grandma's different stories. And what you do is it asks a question, and then that person can just talk about their story and share whatever story they want to. It can be a specific question, or they can just talk about whatever they wanted to talk about. So what this has done here is it is collecting those different stories, and you can choose to keep them personal and private to you, or you can choose to put them on the website. And you can search for them. You can search for a specific topic. You can look at podcasts or just animation. The animation part is kind of neat because it brings a story to life, but the podcast is them talking. So what I did when I jumped in today is I went to look at all, and location I didn't really care. And then there are all these different choices that you can pick from, and I just picked on American Pathways. So these are all of the different people that have recorded their stories about American Pathways. And what you do is when you click on it, it tells you, that person tells the story. So as soon as I landed, I was home. So if I click on this, it's going to bring up this person's story. So when you go to the story, it's going to give you a little brief, a description of what it's going to be about. So then you click on it, and it's going to be that person actually talking.
In 2011, the Syrian civil war began. In the decades since, more than 500,000 people have been killed and over 13 million displaced. Magda Sakan moved from Memphis to Aleppo, Syria in her 20s, where her father, Walid, was born and raised. When the war began, she left, and they both have not been back since. They came to StoryCorps to remember both the country and the people they love.
I decided after I graduated college that I was going to move to Syria. I'd always wanted to know your family.
So I'm going to pause there, and you can definitely go back and check out the rest of the story if you're interested in it. So all of these are stories about people's lives. And so when you start to think about that social emotional piece and the different things that we've talked about, the Compassion Project and building empathy for others, think about how you could utilize these in a classroom. Again, I go back to the same thing I've been saying, make sure it's going to meet the needs of your students, your grade level, and that your admin is okay with you supporting these types of programs, because some of these might be kind of heavy. Again, always listen to it beforehand. You can listen to these in the car. You can connect it if you download the app. You can listen to the stories through your Bluetooth if you have Bluetooth. I know I've listened to them sometimes in the mornings on my way to work or when I'm on long drives, and some of the stories are so powerful, and some of them are really funny, and some of them really build that compassion for others. So I really love StoryCorps. But so when you're using these in the classroom, and I would say think about using them secondary, think about how you could play this and then use some reflective questioning on it. go back to some of your ideas that we've talked about in the past about building that compassion and what are some things you would do to help support that person. If it is a rough journey that they're talking about, how could you celebrate some of the journeys that people share through StoryCorps? And what could you learn from them? So all of those different reflective questions that could come from this. What I was really excited about when I was looking at Nearpod today is that Nearpod also has a connection with StoryCorps. So let me show you. So when we look at this other, you're going to notice a couple of StoryCorps here, which are cool because they're already created for you. And if it meets the needs of what you're looking for, that's incredible. So let's click on the first one. And we're going to be talking about windows and mirrors and then preview it. So it gives a little brief description of what is going to happen in the next slide. And it takes us right to the story to listen to. So we can listen to their story.
You are my first child. I was so glad you were born. I cannot express the way I feel when I held your sweet little body. I kissed you. I loved you. Oh, Melba. I was so proud when I started taking you out with me. You could take me by the hand and lead me where you...
So you're going to listen to Melva and John's story, and then just like it does with all the other Nearpods, you're going to have some pieces, or the students are going to have some pieces to think about or work through or collaborate on once they're done listening to the story. Was the story you just heard a window, a mirror, or both? So your students are going to need to really think about what they know about windows or mirrors, and then do some different pieces with it. There's a poll that's included, and what they learned and some other activities. So think about StoryCorps and that Nearpod collaboration and how you could do more than just listen to a story. We always want to think about what more could we do to get them reflecting on it. Like I said, I think StoryCorps is such a neat tool, and your kids can actually record stuff on it too, about describing about what they have learned about their journey on social emotional learning and what they've learned about their journey about being compassionate from some of these different videos and stories that they've heard. So again, with StoryCorps, I would go in, find that story that you want to think about and talk about, and make sure you have some of those reflective questions ready for students. If you want to continue to participate in it, you just sign up for your account. Like I said before, there's an app that goes with it. You can discover different pieces of it, all the different stories that you can look at. You have the animation component and then just the podcast pieces. And then you have your stories. I want to thank you all so much for listening and learning with me on all of these different social emotional resources that I shared today. Just a quick review of the ones we've talked about. We talked about Impatico, StoryCorps, the Compassion Project. We talked about the collaboration between Nearpod and the Calm app. We talked about commonsenseeducation.org. And then we talked about Goose Chase. So hopefully there's something in there that you want to try out and just pick one piece to try out. I wouldn't suggest doing it all because we know we have so many different things going on in our classrooms that sometimes we get overwhelmed with it. But maybe pick one to try out and see how you could use it to help build your students' compassion, build your classroom community. And then tell me about it. I'd love to hear about it. If you've used any of these different programs before, or if you're thinking about using them, or if you have any questions, make sure you tweet me at Sandy Gehring, and then make sure you're following keepindianalearning.org. And you can also follow Keep Indiana Learning on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. So thank you so much again for coming along with me on this 5-part series journey about supporting social emotional learning, both in the classroom and in a virtual setting. If you ever have any questions, if you want to talk about anything we've discussed through this 5-part series, or if you just want to share what you've been doing or what you want to try out, I would love for you to reach out to me again on Twitter. And just thanks so much, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.